Hey everyone, and welcome to session 6 on our devotion series on our values. This has been so much fun, and I'm so excited. We're talking about family in this session, and from the get go, I'm just going to ask us this question. What is the first thought that comes to your mind when I tell you to think about your family? All right, it's a loaded question because I know some of us immediately go to some of the most happy memories of our lives, or we think about our favorite people in life. And some of us immediately go to some of the worst times of our lives. We think about the worst memories. We think about the worst people that we have to have in our lives. And what I've realized by asking this question throughout the time is that family is so important to us. And it has a massive impact on all of us, whether that's positive or negative. Now, in every nation, we value family because it is the most basic unit of society that God created. We see in Genesis 2, verse 24, "Therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." And the command that God gives to this unity between Adam and Eve is that they must be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth. This is Genesis 1, verse 28. So we see that God calls the family unit to bear good fruit, then to multiply and fill the earth in order to subdue it and have dominion over it. So before we can really fill the earth with His glory and make Him known, there's this emphasis on the family to be fruitful. So family is also the foundation of our relationships with others. Think about it. The first relationships we have growing up is with our family. Our first idea of what relationships should be like is given to us by our family. And that is why God calls parents to raise their children in the ways of the Lord. Deuteronomy 6, verse 6 to 7 says this, "And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise." In this verse, God commands parents to teach His commands to their children. It shows that the family unit is the first place where kids are supposed to be learning about God. And pay attention, it's not just about directly teaching them. It's about talking about His laws when you sit down, when you walk by the way, when you lie down and rise. It indicates that there's this need to have a lifestyle of following God as parents, as a family, so the children have an example to go by. And it's no wonder that the devil is attacking families the most. By attacking families, he gets to disrupt the social fabric of our societies. And he gets to sow confusion into people's lives from a young age. And out of this understanding, we have this statement in every nation globally. We say that because family is the foundation and validation of ministry, we refuse to sacrifice our marriages and our children on the altars of temporary success. And because we believe God has called us to be a spiritual family, we embrace community. We reject the idea of disposable relationships, and we choose to walk in love, respect, and unity. So outside of us holding strongly to the strengthening and foundation of the family unit, we know that God designed the church to be a family, a community of believers who support and care for one another. And so we need to understand the value of family in church and how it helps us to grow in our faith. So in Ephesians 2, verse 19, it says, "So then you are no longer strangers and aliens, but you are fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God." In a world of broken families, God decided to let the church become a mediator and healer in the midst of the brokenness. I mean, God is the God who decided to take responsibility for a mess that He did not create. He did not create the mess of sin in this world. Yet He sends His Son to die on a cross for our sins. And in the same way, he wants to use us as the church to restore what he intended to be the most foundational place of discovering who he is. If we have a healthy and godly family, it makes it so much easier to believe in the goodness of God when we grow up, as opposed to growing up in a hurtful and broken family. The church as a spiritual family is so important to him that even Jesus said when his relatives were calling him, he said this, "Who is my mother and who are my brothers?" And stretching out his hand towards his disciples, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother." Matthew 12, verse 48 to 50. So the church is a place where we can find community and belonging, where we need each other to grow in our faith and to serve God effectively. And it is a place where we can share our joys and struggles and support physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually. We can support one another in love. And just one last thing about family. Family is all about the way we relate to broken people. Family is all about the way we relate deeply and intimately to imperfect people. Here's the thing, people are not perfect and they will offend us. I believe that family reflects God's love to the world in a way that we love one another when it needs to be a choice we make instead of just a feeling that we have towards someone. John 13 verse 35 says, "Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples." So God does not call us to love people unless there's a miscommunication. God does not call us to love one another unless someone comes and offends me. He doesn't call us to love one another unless someone does something wrong to us. He calls us to show the world love in those moments. He calls us to show the world his love in those moments. So I have a couple of questions for us. Do you have family, physical and spiritual, that has offended you? What do you feel God is calling you to do about that? And then, are there areas that you have been neglecting, wherein you have been neglecting your physical and spiritual family? What do you feel God is calling you to do about that? And then lastly, God calls us to choose to love our physical and spiritual family. In what way can you love them after listening to this session?